took out a topiary that was dying. I repotted it. I came around the bottom of it and I dressed the bottom in some beautiful yellow pansies. It's going to look beautiful in the space where it's going to be going. The roots of this were basically mulch. So I went in, tickled the roots out because, I mean, this is not substantial enough, and it's basically a grower mix where it's basically just mulch, some fertilizer, a little bit of soil, as well as a little bit of sand. So I didn't want that inside of my container. So I went ahead and I just frisked this all out. Topiary is so large. I mean, the second ball, it's pretty high. So it's definitely going to give the pump and circumstance that I need it to be. Now, it is leaning a little bit. So what I'll do is, once I get the other one potted up, I have to find another one. Once I get that potted up, then what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll just stake that one at the bottom. But I am going to be replacing a lot of topiaries that I lost earlier this year. Now, for this arrangement right here, I came in and I planted up some Amaryllis bulbs. I had a little bit of dirt in here when I was potting up the second arrangement, but what I did was I took some beautiful Amaryllis bulbs and I put the Amaryllis bulbs in the middle and I surrounded them with a beautiful blue viola. And I absolutely love it. It has a white Wakefield planter as our container. And I'm absolutely 100% obsessed with the way that this looks. And I can't wait for the Amaryllis bulbs to come up. They're going to have these big, beautiful, large blooms. But I do a lot of research with Amaryllis, how to push Amaryllis, how to get them to bloom faster, how to stagger the blooms over here on my channel, which I have talked about that in great detail. Welcome to All Things Fall over here on Garden Queen. I'm super excited because not only is it fall, it's also my birthday month. And I like to celebrate my birthday for the entire month of October. I know I am too old to be acting like a child when it comes to my birthday, but I love birthdays. We're going to start today's video off in the kitchen. We are going to be making some orange muffins. And one thing about it, because it's my birthday month, I like to have like cupcakes, muffins, something prepared so that if one of my good girlfriends end up stopping by and dropping me off something for my birthday, sometimes they'll leave a package outside of the door if I'm not here, like if they're just doing a quick pop through. But for the most part, you know, you want to let the person know, hey, I'm on my way over. So I like to make sure I have some type of treat. I have some coffee brewing in the background. It is almost done. Nothing like starting your day off with a fresh cup of coffee. So I'm going to set this off to the side because it's fresh and so it's still a little bit too hot. In order to make these orange muffins, we have a lot of prep. So let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to be using. This is a very easy recipe that you all can duplicate. Now, I will say this. I am one of those cooks that when I'm prepping something up together, that I like to go by eye. You know, anything about cooking, like it is the ultimate compliment when somebody come and taste your food and you're able to do everything by eye. But that doesn't really translate well when you're sharing a recipe. For example, my mother-in-law, she was the first person that I had ever seen make banana pudding like completely 100% from scratch. And I'm talking about she would make the pudding from scratch, stand over the stove, stir the milk from scratch. And baby, I know we got some cooks in my family, at least I thought, until I seen her make that banana pudding. But what I'm saying is she didn't use measuring cups. She did everything by eye. So I was just always taught to cook by eye. So that doesn't necessarily translate well in a video. So I'm going to let you all know what I'm using, and I am going to measure it out. And so when we get to a section, I may use a little bit more or a little bit less. But because we are doing orange muffins and we are doing this from scratch, we do have some oranges here. I cannot wait till I get to the point in my garden to where I say, oh, these oranges all came off of my orange tree. Okay, okay. Can I get an okay for the people in the back? Like, I cannot wait till I can say that, because how awesome is that? But these are store-bought. I'm not going to flex. It would be awesome for me to be able to say that, but we are going to need to prep some oranges, because we are going to put some freshly squeezed orange juice inside of these muffins. You can substitute it and just only use the zest of an orange, but for me, it gives it so much more flavor when you make these orange muffins and you use fresh oranges. Our oven is ready. It just gave us the signal that it's ready. But when you use fresh oranges, to me, it gives it more. And with the orange juice, you know, orange juice, I mean, come on, you guys. There's nothing better than fresh. So first thing we need to do is we need to prep our oranges. And we are going to, actually, before I zest, let's go ahead and prep, because our orange juice, we're going to have to work a little bit to get it now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by, one, I'm not going to use all of the oranges. Now, you can take and pulverize the skin and everything, like similar to when you do like a marmalade. Have you guys ever made an orange marmalade from scratch? Because you know you use the skin in that, but we're not doing that on this, in this situation. So we're going to have to peel some oranges, which shouldn't take us long, and then we're going to juice our oranges once we get them peeled. Oh, these oranges smell so good. So I have a total of 5 oranges here. We may need more or less depending on how much juice we get from these oranges. Let me go over all of the ingredients that you're going to need, because you might be wanting to write down a list. So you are going to need flour. You're going to need powdered sugar. You're going to need baking powder. You're going to need yogurt, buttermilk. Now, with the buttermilk, if you are able to find it, because I could not find any buttermilk that was not low fat. You're able to find like the whole buttermilk, get the buttermilk whole. If not, you can use the low fat. It just won't be as rich, but when we get to that section, I'll tell you what I like to use for a substitute. Now, we are going to be using our NutriBullet, and that's going to help us shred up for our orange juice. We'll go ahead and start blending this in our NutriBullet. We have our orange juice. You can see the consistency is very blended. Very, very blended. Now you can go through and shake it down a little bit more. This is where our color is going to come from versus using food coloring. So we're just going to go all in. Okay, so perfect. So we want all of this. We had to work for it, and we want it because this is where our flavor is going to come from. Need about 2.5 cups of sifted flour. Two and a half teaspoons of baking powder. Half a teaspoon of salt. Just stir these all in real good. Okay, so now for our wet ingredients. Four tablespoons of butter, or 1/4 of a cup. Melted. When I melt my butter, I melt it half of the way and then let the heat from the butter that's already melted, let that melt the rest of it. Now for our buttermilk, and we are going to use, this is the low-fat buttermilk. One teaspoon of vanilla. You can do 2. We will need 1 cup of sugar. And I just sifted through just to make sure there's no chunks in there. Then we need about 1/2 cup of yogurt. You can use sour cream as well. That's going to give us that tang that you didn't know that you needed. We're going to stir the sugar in to our dry ingredients. Our butter should be ready by now. We're going to just mix all of our wet ingredients together. our orange muffins sit inside of the oven for about, they'll bake about 18 to 20 minutes. While the muffins are cooking, we will go ahead and just get everything cleaned off and pick out the platter that we're going to be setting our muffins on, as well as start preparing for the icing that's going to go on top of our muffins. We'll check and see if these are ready. And we're just going to take, and we really should be using a toothpick or a knife. All right, let's check. And it comes out clean, so we're good. And of course the ones on the side, they're done, because they're not even as big as these muffins right here. And again, it looks like it's blended really well, but normally I will take a strainer and strain it out. So we have about 18 tablespoons or 90 mLs or 3 ounces. So we're just going to add a little bit into our powdered sugar, and we're just going to start mixing it up. Add a little bit more. Now, when I do my icing, I like to make sure I get as much of the skin off versus when I'm putting the orange inside of the muffin batter. I just throw them in there. But when I'm doing my icing, I like to get as much of that skin off, because the skin will add a little bit of a bitter taste to it. Can add a little bit more. We'll add all of this. This is what it looks like completely out. I thought what I was looking for was going to be sitting outside, but it wasn't. So I decided to run on inside and see if I could see it. I'm not seeing anything, so there's really no reason to ponder around. What a long day. Can't wait to bite into this muffin. I forgot to tell you all when we were doing the video to make sure you add 1/4 cup of canola or vegetable oil, and the camera had cut off at that point, so make sure you don't forget that. And then after you have drizzled or either dipped your muffins inside of your orange icing, come back over the top of it with some kosher salt, and it is the right balance of salty and sweet. I love a good salty and sweet. What about you? Drop down in the comment box and let me know. This is absolutely delicious. And then I did a cup of coffee, just plain black coffee, and it is the perfect balance. But you all, the Hartley Botanic greenhouse book. Now, we had talked previously before, like the hospitalization that we went through. We talked about adding a Hartley greenhouse, but the one that I wanted to add, they did not approve it because the size of my lots. I stay in a suburb of the St. Louis region, and so they just didn't approve it because it has to be like so many, the structure has to be like so many feet from the fence line, the structure has to be so many feet from your neighbor's yard. With all of those components, it just wasn't going to work. So I have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a greenhouse plan, something completely different than the original one that I was looking at. So I got to go smaller. And of course, anytime you come outside, so does the bugs. But I sit outside in my garden all the time and just take everything in. And you know what? These muffins, they're just so delicious. Perfect snack after antiquing. Oh, also with the antiquing, we walked through, but I went there looking for a bistro set. I am looking for a 4-piece bistro set. If I can't find a 4-piece, then a 2-piece will work, especially if I have the option to order 2 chairs with it. That would totally work. One of my friends out of the friend group, she called me and she said that I needed to head over to that antique shop because she was driving by and she said they had some outdoor furniture. And so I had my fingers crossed that hopefully it would be a bistro set, but by the time I got there, it wasn't there. She said it was sitting out in the front, I didn't see it when I went by, but I went inside and just cruised through. It's real small, but they move pieces real quick. But I figure it was worth a try. One thing I like about Hartley is when you look at the brochures, all of the prices are going to be right there at the front. Okay, now here are all the prices. Now, the Victorian Grand Manor is $234. The Victorian Manor is $198,500. The entryway to anything Victorian starts at $63,000. Or actually, yeah, the Victorian Chelsea is $63,900. And that is on page 42. This is page 6 right here. And now this is the Victorian Manor. That is a step down than the Victorian Grand Manor. That's pretty large. That I was looking at before, the one that I got quoted on, they were saying that I couldn't have it. So let's start out at, now here's the Victorian Lodge. This looks a lot smaller. That might work. The Victorian Grand Classic, and it gives you all of your measurements that you'll need. This is the Victorian Grand Classic, and this is what it looks like on the side. But I want something that's going to face kind of like this, if you will. Like I want my front door, like my entryway, to be on the widest part of the building. So here is a Victorian Classic, and the price point on the Victorian Classic, because that's pretty nice. That's $69,200. The Victorian Villa, but we were actually supposed to be going to page 42 to see what that is about, and I believe that is the smallest one. Okay, so the Victorian Chelsea, here it is right here, but here it is without so it's sitting directly on top of a brick foundation, so it's not elevated by the brick. And that's what I want. I want it to be elevated by the brick. And just this part alone, you guys, $63,900. So $63,900. You guys see that? I hope you can. Okay, but I'm wanting more like a style, kind of like, let me show you. So what I'm looking for, Now this is the Victorian Lodge right here. Can you all see that? This is the Victorian Lodge. So I'm looking for something kind of like this, but I'm gonna have to go smaller. So I need a smaller footprint. So I might have to go down to something like this. So this is the Victorian Lodge. I'll have to go through, look at the measurements, and then from there, I'll have to call down and discuss, okay, these are the measurements, this is how big it is, and then they'll approve yay or nay, which is one of the benefits that I would have if I had a lot of acreage. I would definitely be able to, you know, fit more things on my property. I would be able to just make my dream greenhouse come true within the means of my budget, if that makes sense. Drop down in the comment box and let me know, do you live in an area where you would benefit from having a greenhouse, or do you live more south, like down in Florida, where it really wouldn't be worth you having a greenhouse? It would be just more for the aesthetics. I totally would love to hear about it. I'm going to continue having my coffee and just taking in this beautiful brochure, because it's definitely speaking. I mean, some of the way that the people have their greenhouses are absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Definitely tell that it took them years to get their landscaping around the greenhouse where they wanted it to be. Until next time, my friends.